adding 10-day compliance for the abandoned vehicles to be moved. And I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Cooney.
Yes, what this is about, and I'm going to talk to Brad about it, it's not only for abandoned vehicles, it's also by people that won't comply into, with the demand letters that we're sending out. We have several citizens that have jumped and complied and cleaned up their properties, and we have other people that just completely ignoring us. So this right here, 10-day deal is, we're going to give them 10 days to comply, and basically they're going to be asked, given a citation to come in front of the magistrate, and at that point is when the fine will be attached to the job. So that's kind of what this is all about. Is in particular, we got abandoned cars that's in ditches and on property, and before we never had a limit on the time that they had to move these cars. So right now we have this that's made that will be delivered, put on the car, on the door of the house, that you have 10 days to move the vehicle, or cut your grass, clean up your yard, stuff like this, clean up your property. And if not done in 10 days, within the 10 days you will be asked to come up in front of the magistrate and pay penalties and fines, just like you would do with a traffic ticket or a speeding ticket. That's what this is all about.
And you have an example I gave you.
Yeah, this is an example of what you would see hanging on your door or vehicle.
And you have one of the properties.
Sir? Oh, yeah. Well, this is an example of a street. I don't know if you want me to call out the street, but
it's before us.
Sir?
It's come before us.
It has become 105 Isabel Street is a prime example of people we sending them out certified letters, registered letters, and they just ignore them, not complying with what we're asking. And the reason why we're asking this is the neighbors are complaining. You know, everything from possums to rodents to just devaluating the neighbors' properties and stuff. And when we have people like this that won't comply, we have to have some type of teeth to get them in front of the magistrate to try to penalize them. That's what this is all about. Within 10 days. Now, if they don't do something, we can start fining them, basically. Before, we never had a limit. We would ask the council to give them 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, where this right here is going to make them come in, pull permits, and start doing some work on these properties. Or start paying somebody to do it, or the city will do it, and put a lien on the properties also within those 10 days. Any other questions?
Anyone questions? Comments?
What's the amount of the fine?
Help me out with that, isn't it?
It has subject to a fine of not more than $200 per day, but I guess when you go in front of the magistrate, he's gonna determine, you know, what the fine is gonna be. But it can't be over 200, so it might be less.
Per day.
Per day, right.
Is that for removal of a vehicle or cleaning up the property?
All of it.
All of it. The magistrate will determine on what the fine has to be.
And in the other areas, if it's tearing a building down, if they start tearing it down within 10 days, naturally it will be one way of getting out of the penalty. But we need to see some action, and we're not seeing that.
Thank you.
For whatever reason.
I'm sure that's not working right.
If they're working on their property,
It is spelled out.
Yes, ma'am.
comes around, well, you
And I
know,
think the young man
I
asked
think,
about
we need to
the
give
cost.
them
Is that not also spelled out in that
as long as they,
The fine?
they
Yes,
are
ma'am.
doing,
That's what he was
they are
just reading.
working on it. They are making, you know, some type of improvement.
I missed your question.
I was just asking about the ordinance, and when you have these ordinance and or bylaws, there are still, in this case, a fine. I think he said it could not go over, but at the same time, it can be per day at $200.
But it all depends with the magistrate, is gonna determine, you know, I mean, it might not get you 100, it might get 150, it might get 100, you know.
So
That's
you
whatever
get,
he
the
thinks.
magistrate has
He has
the
the
power.
authority, he has the authority to, you know,
to see what the ordinance has actually spelled
Not
out.
exceed, not exceed.
So my question simply is, if it's $200 and you can't go over $200, but yet the magistrate is right in that bracket,
$200 per day, can't exceed $200, not more than $200
not more
per
than
day
200, but it could be less.
for
It all
everyday
depends
violation.
with
Right.
Whatever
It
he,
could be $10 a day.
right.
Whatever it is that I guess that they,
and that's what the ordinance does spell out,
Yes, ma'am.
per day.
Only thing we're changing with that ordinance is putting a date limit on it. In other words, once we give you a notice, a citation, you have 10 days to take action.
To comply.
And George, you was reading that from the ordinance.
right.
Yes. George,
That's the only thing we have is days. Before there was no days, no limit on how long you may do it. You know, I don't want to pick on people to give the examples, but, you know, we had people that tell us they got to do something in 30 days, and now it's 90 days and they still haven't done anything. So we want a way to bring them in front of the magistrate, like this ordinance basically spells out, with a possible fine if they do not comply within this 10 days.
Those of you standing, there's 5 chairs in the front right here.
I'm just kind of
Only they-
waiting for her to talk.
What I'm thinking of, and you have to, I'm not repeating, but I never know what's wrong. Bobo and Jojo, Bobo may not have that $200. When he comes before the magistrate, does the magistrate have the right to say, well, look, I'm gonna give you an additional grace period to get that $200?
Yes, ma'am, strictly up to the magistrate. You know, I'll give you another example. We had a house that burned down in town. They told me at a minimum of these 2 times that they were gonna tear this house down. And they have not done anything yet. And it's in the middle of a nice neighborhood, nice other brick homes, and there we have a house that's 100% destroyed. When we know they got insurance money for it already, and they haven't taken that insurance money and applied it to get rid of the old home, just letting it sit. So that's what this is all about, to try to get something more leverage for us as a city, people to force the people, at least come in front of the magistrate and explain their cases to.
Mr. Quinn, that house in question, I think that one is still in, they still have some legal questions on that same house.
Well, only thing I know is they may still be fighting the insurance company to get more money out of them, but normally when you have a insurance policy on a home and it's destroyed, part of that money you get from the insurance company is cleaning the property. You know,
Hey, Brad.
I know they had enough money to buy something else already and move in. We just need them to, Brad, I'm glad you're here, Brad. Talking about the 10-day ordinance. So, you know, it's basically in, yeah, that brick home's a prime example. This one on this street right here is another example. We have a couple of them right here on Main Street. I mean, they promised, they're gonna repair the roof, they're gonna have a roofing contractor to go fix the roof, still tin flopping in the air, you know? Promises is good, but we need a deadline, firm deadline.
2 questions. One, is this 10-day on the initial contact?
Once we served you, you have 10 days to take action. After 10 days, you'll be have to go in front of the magistrate to see about your penalties.
And the second question on this paper, the 10-day compliance only references abandoned vehicles.
Well, that's why I started off by saying, I talked to Brad about it, this also needs to be for condemnations of houses. As well as junk vehicles.
It does cover that.
Does cover that?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't very clear, that's why they were asking me, though.
No, it covers all that in detail, major details.
Okay.
That's covered.
Brad, I thought you had a question, this has been a while back, about it, but if the vehicle was on, it had wheels on it, or it was on block. I mean, what's your difference?
One is being repaired, one's not. Or one is, it's incapable of being driven, it's not antique status, over 30 years, I think it is, and it's considered an abandoned car, unless you're repairing it.
I thought it had something to do with the license.
Right.
Like they pull the plate or whatever for it to put it in repair.
City Hall,
If it's not insured,
I think the ordinance is crystal clear on that.
Yeah, look in your definition, I don't have one. in
Yeah,
front of me.
definitions is.
The definition of a junk car.
I have a question. What is our objective? What is the primary objective of this particular ordinance?
To get people, what I want to call off-center and take us serious. Right now, we have several of them that just are not addressing our certified letters. And when they do get them, they address them, like we've had some come up from the council and give us deadlines, or y'all like deadlines. Talk to them, I'm sorry. No, he was reading the definition, I guess, and some was waiting.
I'm sorry, so you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying that the objective of this is to give people deadlines to take us serious. You got a junk car, we have one back, I guess that would be north of us here. Several times, we've already talked to them about moving their cars out of the yards, out of the ditches. A couple of weeks ago, they're still not moved out, they're still there. It's to get them into the magistrate with the possibility of paying fines and tickets just like you would with any speed ticket or traffic ticket. This is our objective here. What I call to get people to comply, that we're serious about cleaning the town up, is what we're trying to do here. And by giving deadlines.
And this, who introduced this?
Now, this doesn't mean a deadline to tear the building down, no. This means a deadline that we see some action being taken to re-roof the building, and get rid of the old tin that's falling off, and overhangs that's over the public right-of-ways and stuff like that.
but the main thing is, we have no, for those that are not answering, those that just, we're not gonna answer anything. We have no date or no time in the ordinance. It was just left out. So we have no action, okay, fine. We can't go against them, we can't say, well, the town's gonna do this, or we're not gonna do this either for grass or for tall grass or for a vehicle or for a building, because we don't have that date time.
So we just.
Within 50, we can't even write the letter to say, within 15 days or 10 days, we're gonna take action, because it's not in the ordinance. That time frame is.
That's all we would be doing is adding.
Adding only that sentence.
Adding the missing link that's within the ordinance.
This line sentence would be added in that ordinance. Adding 10 days. compliance.
They could take action against them as far as a lien on their property and stuff if they didn't have someone. That was for the art building.
But that would prevent, see, that's prevent this also, because you see, we don't have that time period to even take the action that.
Because that was in there too.
There's a difference between a building being in a dangerous condition and a building having a condition that creates, I don't mean directly, like funny, a nuisance, yeah, it's a big difference between a dangerous structure that's about to fall down, one that has a piece of tin hanging off of it.
Right.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a nuisance, the one that has
Right,
the tin
right.
falling off it.
Right.
And I've gotten a phone call from citizens here that literally a sheet of tin is on Main Street that blew off of one of the buildings.
Yeah.
That particular building has answered my phone calls and constantly we're gonna do it, we're gonna get it fixed.
So you can't
And they have
demolish
not.
it, you can't demolish it, and just.
But you could put a
correct
lien
the
on
problem.
it. I thought that was in the ordinance. You put a
What's
lien
that?
on it. The city could make them fix it and put a lien on it. I thought that's what was supposed to be in that ordinance.
It is an ordinance.
If the
city fixes it.
Right, that's what I was thinking was in that.
But the thing is, our hands are tied right now. Let's say a house is just not to the point of like what Brian said, in a dangerous condition. This building we're after, this set like the one he's holding in his hand right now. The neighbors that they complain for over a year or 6 months, why don't you take action? Well, they're not answering. That's the only thing we can tell them right now. We don't have it in the ordinance, but you got 10 days now to do this. It's an inclusion that needs to be put into the ordinance, basically. Oh, now we got 10 days. Now we can actually put this, we'll do this, and if they don't take action, then we can take action. That's what the inclusion is.
But you're right, the last thing town should do is put the money, put the bill to repair something. Town really shouldn't be spending money on that, although we might have no alternative to create a condition that we have to do that.
But once again, it goes back to what Brad's saying, it could be tall grass, just an issue of tall grass. Then, if they're not gonna cut it, or they refuse to cut the grass, then we might have to go and cut the grass. But then, by us cutting the grass, we're giving them the 10 days, which we didn't have that before. You got 10 days, you don't cut it, we might have to go cut the grass. But that allows us to put a lien on the property to get the ball going. Right now, we can't even go do it.
So we're asking, you all are asking that the council consider the 10-day,
The inclusion of the 10 days
include the 10-day allowable time, right?
in the whole ordinance.
Okay, because we're saying here that we're talking about abandoned vehicles.
Yeah, and that's where.
So,
I was
But
gonna-
are we saying all nuisance ordinance?
Well,
And the
but
entire
the
ordinance
abandoned
itself.
vehicle is considered a nuisance.
Do what?
The abandoned vehicle is considered a nuisance.
Right, but it's.
So is
it's-
grass.
Right,
So
but
is
it's.
the
but
face of
it-
the property.
Right, but it's already part of a current nuisance ordinances. So I'm
Right.
asking, what's the difference? What are we doing other than adding the 10 days?
Nothing.
Okay, all right. So when we said
Forget the-
abandoned vehicles, that's what I
Abandoned
didn't
vehicles,
quite understand.
yeah, just basically it's been defined nuisance.
Okay, from the nuisance, all the nuisance ordinance. Okay, yeah, okay.
To be proper, it's called junk vehicles, not abandoned vehicles. Everybody clear on that? Junk vehicles. What Louisiana calls it, we don't call it that.
Any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Doherty. This concludes our public hearing, and now we will go into our regular meeting. Okay, roll call, District 1, Mr. Gene Malco.
Here.
District 2, Ms. Doris Daigle.
Here.
District 3, Mr. Gary Duplichet.
Here.
District 4, Mr. Dale Wembley.
Here.
District 5, Mr. Darrell Coho.
Here.
Police Chief, Mr. Alvin Venable.
Yes.
Town Attorney, Mr. Brad Andrews.
Here.
Town Clerk, Mr. Todd Bishop.
Here.
Okay. First thing, we need to revise the agenda. Church Point High School is, wrestling team is asking for a beer exemption for a fundraiser for their wrestling team on February the 24th at Church Point Park Pavilion.
Do we
would y'all consider putting it under D1 of reports and requests?
I'll be sure we plan to do for their fundraising February 24th.
Do I have a second?
Well, but fix that,
Right.
I'm gonna need to be out
Okay.
We can.
So we review
I'm gonna move that we add that.
Okay.
So one might see,
Okay.
is that right,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The agenda has been revised, it's been moved to item D1. Motion by Earl, second by.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Our next item is the recognition of special guests. With us today we have Ms. Lisa Alexander with Rural Health Clinic, licensed on Every Street. She's in charge of family nurse. She's a family nurse practitioner with pediatric health care group of Acadiana in Church Point. It's a new business. It's located at 1048 East Abbey, and we'd like to welcome Ms. Alexander.
Thank you.
Ms. Alexander,
Thank you.
I want to put you on the spot. You want to say a few
No,
words?
that's okay. I'm a nurse practitioner. I was in the emergency room at Lafayette General for 15 years as a nurse and a nurse practitioner. Found pediatric group about 3 years ago. Started in Karen Crow. Did some research and realized y'all little community here needed a pediatric group here, and I'm a family nurse practitioner, so I'm going to open it up to families as well. So I'm hoping to serve your community.
Okay. We would like to welcome you to Church Point,
Thank you.
and we do have your business
Oh,
license.
thank you.
Are you tending to my 1,200 grandkids?
Send them my way.
I think you already.
Thank you so
And
much.
welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is reading and approval of previous minutes from January the 8th, 2018. In your packet, you will find these. Do I have a motion?
I'll be sure moved. I don't see anything, no discrepancies, so I'll let you know.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of December 2017 financial statements. In your packet, you will also find these. Do I have a motion?
Ordinance number,
Brad, your team won yesterday.
Saints were in.
Donald Trump.
Oh, that's it?
I doubt Alabama was lucky as that other one. You always sweating bullets.
Get it out.
Do I have a second?
I'll support your motion, sir. I'll second it. I'll support it.
What are the ones you said should be correct? Okay, well, it's not correct, it's just that what we approved for the budget for the air conditioning, it's still that we got to pay that this year for the air conditioning unit at the police station, which is $80-something thousand that we have a minus on. And a couple other things like in bonds and everything like that, I think there's a solution that they have to correct, so like that we can get back in the budget, so we're not gonna get in the hole for this huge, yeah, about $80,000, but that can be taken care of. That's I got to be with the Albert and the police department.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, so
Any more discussion?
yeah, so that's a 91,000, not 85.
About 85 to the police department. The police station which we approved last year.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Next item, public comments on the agenda action items. Old business A and new business 2 and 3. If you have any comments on these, you need to make them now as far as the comments. If you have an agenda, it's written on the agenda. Anybody?
Maybe you're on item 1. I'm sorry, action item A.
Right. Action item A, and you have 2, 3, 2 and 3 at the bottom. Under the municipal department reports or legal.
If we're taking up the matter from January 8th meeting, the noise ordinance discussion on changes to the decibel levels, I think Lieutenant. Oh, okay, good deal.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and begin then. Action, discussion items in the old business. This was an item that was tabled from our January 8th meeting. It's under the noise ordinance, discussion on changes to decibel levels. And I think Mr. Dale Thibodeau is going to speak about this. Mr. Dale?
Well, on the 14th of December, I was called to go out there and take several readings around the area to see, because of the noise coming from Vanacor's Lounge, because of the music coming from Vanacor's Lounge, and there have been numerous complaints from one of the constituents, Mr. Malvo. I went out there on the 14th at about 8:18 p.m. I had my decibel meter. I took several decibel readings from the road, from the edge of the property, from all the way around the club. I was never over the allowed decimal reading of 70. The highest I got at the curb in front of the bar was 64, if I remember correctly. I was never over. I then walked back up to about halfway from the bar to the bridge, to decimal readings there, which I was down into the 50s. I could hear the music, but I wasn't setting off the decimal reading. I then went to the corner of Jack and Ethel, where I still wasn't over the decimal readings, but I could hear the music. I went to the back of the bar, towards where Mr. Robert would live. Still wasn't over the decimal readings, but I could hear the music. And then I went across the street to Mr. Carrier's house. And I stood about 3 feet off of his house. And I got a decimal reading in the 50s, which is still underneath the decimal reading, the allowed decimal reading, but could also still hear the music.
Mr. Carrier's reading was what, sir?
It was in the 50s, I'll give it to you.
50?
I'll give it to you exactly.
Okay.
I got it wrote down. $52.
Thank you.
And that's what I did. I just took a general reading of the whole area, different places in the area. And like I said, when I was right off of the curbing onto the street, right in front of the bar, I got a decimal reading. My highest was in the 60s. It wasn't a meeting.
So to make things clear, Dale, this decimal reading of 70, where did we get this from? 70, that number?
I think our number was 65.
No, a number 7, that was taken from every small town, every Lost Neck community that could find, and not one of them was below 70.
That was my question.
So 70 plus. All of them. Some of them were higher. Some of the rural area parishes were higher, much higher. Allowed.
Can we hear from Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
It's 65 decimals after 10, I'm sorry, good stuff.
Still not over, Shane, 64.
It's 65 decimals after 10 p.m. But we even stop our bands at midnight, to make sure. If it helps, I can plant some, like I did those garbage in Cameron, I can plant some bamboo along the gully, try to block some of the sound. But we make sure we're below the levels every time. I walk around myself like that, sure. But if there's something I can do to help them,
What happens when, say for example, you have a band playing, the music is whatever volume, and maybe you become aware that someone's in the neighborhood that has a concern. What do you do?
I'll go ask, if I find the band is exceedingly loud, I'll ask them to turn it down. But the fact is, if you stand next to the road, the traffic passing is louder than the band playing.
So you have actually gone out and spoken with the neighbors and
If there's
say, hey, you
anybody
guys.
We're welcome to come to them, we'll try to figure something out, absolutely. But we do start our bands 8 to 12 for that reason. They're never above 70 decibels till 10, and then there's 65 till 2. To make sure the doors are closed, we don't know. And again, I don't know whether if y'all go out and listen to live bands, it's not that loud anymore. And I've been playing music for a very long time. I'm used to the volume levels that in different clubs. It's not even close. If there's something I can do to help ease everybody to the street,
It's that better because you can go in and still talk to somebody in here and you know somebody you can't hear nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So don't mind when you come.
Thank you, Mr. Vaticore.
More discussion?
What about the neighbors?
I didn't realize
Has it ever, Lieutenant,
2.5 years.
Has the meter ever recorded, this is a two-part question, has it ever recorded anything less than 52 right?
No, I did not.
Never less than. And has there ever been an occasion when it actually recorded higher than 52?
Not that night.
Not that night. Okay, so there has been.
Well, I don't know. I just went there one night.
52 is that?
That's from the complainant.
That's from 3 feet off of Mr. Ronald's house. That's 3 feet off of Mr. Ronald's house. That's
He doesn't sleep outside.
That's why
We all agree to that, right? So inside the house is even less than that.
Has a reading been done from inside the house?
No, I didn't do a reading inside the house because when I got there, all the lights were off inside the house, and I didn't.
Leave that one alone. Why would
Because he
you
was
do
probably
this?
sleeping when the music went louder, probably more than likely, right?
No Rockland term.
The decimated catching things. Is it possible, as you say, won't pick up the base?
Okay, I researched it. I researched it after this because I was kind of wondering how I can stand 3 feet off this house. They were playing Wayne Toops, Tupelo Honey, and I could hear every word. I'm serious, that's what was being played. And I could hear every word of the song, okay? But I wasn't setting off the decimal meter. So I went back and I researched this. And there is certain bass sounds at a distance that will not set the decimal meter off. It will not violate the decimal meter. You'll still be able to hear it. Your decimal reading, according to what I researched, and I'm not a professional, I just researched it on the internet. According to what I researched, your decimal reading, your ears are 5 times more sensitive than that decimal reading will. What you will hear with your ears will not set off that decimal.
Just like what Mr. Vandergore said about the vehicles passing on the road.
Right, the vehicles passing on the road.
That's allowed too.
That same night when I stood off of the road and I was taking my reading, when a vehicle would pass, I was at about 74 or 75 for a vehicle. But noise travels and certain things pick up that noise. In fact, just the other day, I'm sitting in my office right here, okay, trying to do my paperwork. And it sounded like somebody was right outside of the door, and it sounded like the music was like boom, 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 blaring. I said, oh no, somebody's getting a ticket. I came out, I walked around, I walked between the buildings. It was across the street at Joyce's. When I got outside, it wasn't half as loud as it was in my building. So, yeah. But it was not, the night I went out there was not in, it was not in violation of our ordinance. That's the main thing I went out there for.
So, you and I have talked about this, right? We've been discussing this for a while. And we discussed possibly adjusting the current level from, so I guess it would be to less than 70. But what point would that serve if
really and truly it wouldn't serve
it's not even
because
that wouldn't be fair to
They were going to serve to get this town sued by every vehicle that comes through this town. You might be the decimal reader only over 70. You have 1 million tickets in this town. We're all going to get sued. That's what's going to happen if you mess around with this.
lowering the decimal reading will not do anything to solve, this is just my opinion from the readings I got. Lowering the decimal reading will not do anything to solve the problem because you have to lower it to below 50. I would think
Towards non-existent.
not do anything, you'd have to lower it before 50 and
50. Like the church build or even at
still be here.
even at
But
the
as
football
Mr.
game.
Vandergore said, when he gets a complaint, he doesn't mind going down with it, right, to comply to the person that's making the complaint, not just the decimal reading. If it's
When I got out there that night, after I was called, it took me a little while to address, but when I got out there that night, when I walked across the road, I met Mr. Vandergore.
Yes, sir.
And he was out there with his meter. And his meter and my meter were getting the same readings at the same time where we took it at. And I'm saying, we're not violating the decimal meter, and I think even if you go down to 60, you're still not solving the problem. Can it be heard? Yes, it can be heard. But the decimal meter is not going to make lowering the readings, I don't think will make a difference.
But Mr. Vanderpool, if someone does call in a complaint, you would turn the music down, would you be willing to turn?
I'll try to accommodate
Absolutely.
everybody I
That's
can.
what I was understanding you to
Yes,
say,
ma'am. Absolutely.
right there. that
We'll
you
accommodate
did
in
that.
any way we can, except for me not having any music, which
Right.
eventually I think that's
Right,
the end
that's
result
it.
of what he's after. And
You shouldn't have to turn it down. If it's at
I'd
70,
just like
it's
to
at
say
70,
that
don't
he
turn
found out
it.
having to go out there on calls. Mr. Bannick, it didn't sound excessive to me. Mr. Bannick did turn the music down while I requested him to, so.
And that's, I mean, that's,
Well, also one time I instructed him to keep the door shut, because I thought that might be the problem.
Now,
Ever since then, that door's been shut.
when people go in and out, I mean, you're gonna
Yeah.
have a temporary
Spike
rise
noise.
in the music. I think from what Mr. Vanacore was saying about bamboo right there, I think that's gonna deaden a lot of that sound, because when I was doing the meter, right at that corner where your band's at,
yes, sir.
okay? I don't know if that's the corner that's least padded or what, but when you get into like a cone right there, you can hear it better than you can other ways.
At the same time, at the Oasis on Sunday, I can listen to every word being played at my bar, and Mr. Ronald is in between
Anybody
there.
else?
Not from a technical standpoint, but from personal experience. Sometimes in my house, when I hear what I would say, what we would classify as loud music, it's not really loud music. It's the bass that vibrates the house. You can walk outside, can't hear nothing. Walk in the house, and the house vibrates. It's not a sound that you can hear. And as he said on the internet, sometimes if it's low enough, the decimeter will not pick it up. It's not necessarily always the music. It's not the music that bothers, it's when the bass vibrates the house itself. It comes through the walls and reverberates, so that might be something to consider.
Yes, sir.
On a clear night, I can hear the train blowing its whistle in unison. When they over there at the community center, I can still hear the music just like Dale said. I can hear it clear and I can sing the verses with it. So it's not just one spot, it's all over. But it's got to be a clear night.
This is like the football games.
Bamboo.
You could hear the football games.
When he's talking about that bamboo, I will clog up that Kool-Aid.
Oh.
In 2 or 3 years' time.
That's true too.
That grows
And
like
you're gonna end up with a drainage problem.
Once you plant it, you can't get rid of it.
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's their concern. The whole damn house.
Mr. Vanderpool, would you come just one more time, sir? I'll be brief, because I know you say you want to get some plumbing done. We've been dealing with this for a while, so.
2.5 years.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, long journey. And I think, it's my opinion, I think that you really have been trying to do your part. I guess my question, but there's still some issues, I suppose. What, in your opinion, is the ideal way to resolve this?
I don't think there is one. I think the only thing that will satisfy some people who are complaining is for me to shut down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that
I think
is
that's
about.
exactly so.
That's exactly
He's
what
not happy with there being a bar next to his house. I think this will not end until, I mean, the fact that my business has slowed down so bad because of it, I mean, it's a shame. We went, for example, we lost 60 to 80% of our business on Saturday nights because of this. And what was done was not legal. The way it was handled was not legal. Faxes that were sent from places that they shouldn't have been. I mean, I know all about all of this. This is my hometown. I love this place. I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to get into all of that. But it's costing me enough. That's it. There is no way to decide. There's no way to pacify it. That I know of. If there is, I'll show you somebody tell me. I talked to her before all of this really was brought out here, and I told her, I said, give me a couple of months, I'll have enough money, I'll build you a privacy fence in your yard to block it. That wasn't good enough. I don't think it's gonna stop.
Thank you, sir.
You got it, partner. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, all, man.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm out of here. Back to work.
All right, let's move on. Next item. is new business engineering report. It's a no action item. In front of you is a sheet that Mr. Mays sent. Okay, moving on. Municipal department reports. Warrant Officer, Mr. Dale Thibodeau.
All right, this is the report for January from the Warrants and Narcotic Division. We arrested 24 bench warrants. We collected $5,157.50. We had 3 bench warrants recalled. 6 did their time. They couldn't pay for their warrants. 10 traffic citations, 12 drug cases. We got a follow-up on something. Last year, Mr. Malbrough called me about some chickens on Wilson Street. Well, I've been still working on them. I went and I served them notice that they had to get rid of the chickens. They did. Well, they brought the chickens back. Chickens are back in the same cages. They're back all caged up again. I took pictures, I took video, and I turned around and I issued a warrant that was signed by the magistrate for the arrest of the person that owns the property.
Thank you, sir.
So, arrest is pending, and the chickens are gone again, but it's too late. I already got them on camera. I already done, he knows he's under arrest. Okay?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
One more. Does somebody have a question? Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's okay.
All right. One more thing, and I know we're in a financial problem, okay? But I just want to make sure you're still aware of it. We are still continuous. We never resolved our radio problems. But I know we do not have the financial capabilities of doing anything about it right now. I'm just keeping it in y'all ear that we still don't have radios that work.
Did y'all look into any kind of grants, federal grants?
We cannot receive any grants at all right now. I've tried applying for grants with narcotics. I've tried applying for all types of grants. We cannot receive no grants at all, according to the state and according to the federal government, because our uniform crime report is not up to date, has not been kept up to date, and we are not eligible for any types of grants, for no reason, until we get in compliance. We're out of compliance.
It's being worked on now, where we should get it back.
Anybody have questions? Can you tell us now why we're not in compliance?
I don't have all the details. I can just tell you what I know for right now. But I don't have the exact details to tell you how far out of compliance we are. But according to the state of Louisiana, the guy that we deal with, every month you must submit a uniform crime report as to your thefts, burglaries, narcotics cases, and everything. Okay? We are 6 months behind. It has not been submitted. And we're not in compliance according to the state of Louisiana. So that keeps us out of the running for the grants. According to the state of Louisiana, within last year, we've had very minimal crime here. Hardly no break-ins, no drug cases, no nothing. According to the state. We are not a community in need of grants when you fall into the state's criteria for the uniform crime.
So who's responsible to file these things to get this in compliance, Chief?
We've had one of our workers that was in charge of that, and she had been sick, and I was the impression that it was being kept up, but it wasn't.
So how long do you think it will take before that?
They're working on it now, so we should have it in. The one I'm talking about, she's out with cancer.
Right.
And that kind of set us back. And, but we should, I have one of the girls that's working on them to get, it's all through the computer.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So it should be, she's working
How
on
long,
it.
how often is this checked? Is this something that's submitted monthly,
Yeah, it's on a
weekly?
monthly basis.
On a monthly basis.
It has been reassigned to somebody else from this point on to catch up, to put it back in compliance, which is, we so far out of compliance, it's gonna take us 2 months to catch up. So it has been assigned to somebody else to put it back into compliance.
And can I, request that we get that updated to us next month and
Okay.
see where we are?
All right.
That's the scary thing though, right there, we should deal. I thought we had went somewhere with that. What was the last thing we had, or was told, or,
That's on the radio.
right?
I'll be honest with you, the problem on our radios, the radios is the towers, it's not working. We used to have one type of radio, they made us buy something else, Motorola, and we still have the same problem. Changing the radios, I don't know if it'd help, I'll be honest with you, maybe it would.
Changing the radio, we're not trying to change the radio, we're trying to add another frequency to our radio. That's a low band that just for us, because according to the state guys who came out and did the readings, we're in a dip. And this 700 frequency, it don't dip, it just goes straight across the top. So we're in the middle of a bunch of towers, but that's worse for us. So what we tried to do was, we were gonna try to do like the fire department had did. They had their own channel for here and the surrounding areas. It was a low band frequency. We were gonna put that into our 800s radios. When we were here, we could have talked to them. But that took quite a bit of money, and we didn't have, we had this come up, so we couldn't do it.
Because I can go to Baton Rouge, even to Shreveport, Monroe, and talk back to Church Point. It's like when you hear, that's your problem.
Yeah.
And I think what it needs would be something possibly connected to it. I think, but the fire department has something on the tower, the water tower.
Yeah, the fire department, we bought our own system.
Right.
Complete, the whole thing.
That's a lot of our problems. Because one time we had the Johnson radio, and that wouldn't work.
Battery.
Salesmen come in and say, well, if you find the Motorola, you're going to solve all your problems. Best way. We went into expensive money, bought the Motorola, and we still back to square one.
It's the state system that the state says that we gotta have. It's their system that's not up to par.
And they've come in several times and worked on it, and shoot them up and everything. I think that's a problem.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dale, appreciate it. Okay, Chief, any police report?
One thing that we have Mardi Gras coming up, and I spoke with the man here where we could possibly put out as much information of the rules. The South Tramp has set some rules, and also the open container law will be in effect, same as last year. Last year, I had so many people that had commented that because it was one of the best Mardi Gras they'd ever had here in Church Point. We had a few little incidents, but overall, with the amount of people we had was very, very good. Everybody had a good time, and we had changed a lot of rules, and when rolled into Church Point, I figured possibly I would have caught a lot of slack because of the changes we had done. And shake my hand and told me that was the best Mardi Gras. There was nobody all drunk all over the street, beer cans all over the place and all that. So it'd be the same rules as last year, and I'm gonna get with the fire department. We're gonna rope up from the fire station on POW MIA. And you're going to be putting a fire truck on this end?
We're going to man the fire station. Yeah.
So what we're going to do?
Because K&M's is also going to be staging, and I think some of the sheriff department is going to be in and out.
Right.
It's going to be a staging area because we have a secured area where we can move in and out.
Okay.
up to Main Street.
Right.
After that, we do it.
But I want to rope that off, leave that section like we had done last year. So that in case you get a
And
fire
we've already talked to all the neighbors what we do. And
Right. Oh, yeah,
they all
everybody
follow
did.
it. They know how to get in and out without causing any problems.
And also the trailers, vehicles won't be able to park on Main Street from 6 p.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning, giving time for the street department to clean up the streets. And hopefully we have a good Mardi Gras, everybody's safe. We've been very fortunate through the years compared to some of the areas, you know, with people getting hurt, even some people getting killed. And that's the last thing we want to do is someone go lose their life. Also, one thing that I think the South-Tramp said this rule where if you get off a trailer, you won't be able to get on. But can you believe that's where people are hurt? You get off the trailer starts moving in the parade, and you want to jump back on the trailer and you fall off. That's some of the major problems of injuries. But anyway, and I've seen later on there'll be a request for some of the business places selling alcohol. And when they pick up their license, could you remind that we'd have an open container law where no bottles or cans, and like last year, which there should be no problem with it because we operated last year. And that's about it. But if anybody has any questions on some of the rules, just give me a call, and I'm going to get with you and kind of put it in existence.
Sheriff Gibson was at the Mardi Gras meeting and gave very, very detailed, strict rules out to the floats. Now, that doesn't include the crowd, but gave some very strict rules as to how things were gonna go.
And it's just to keep everybody safe. You know, that's our main thing. Because the driver, he can't see who's getting on or getting off of the floats.
Well, the big thing coming down Main Street, not having anyone park there.
Oh, that,
is
I tell you what.
definitely a big asset.
I think possibly some of you had seen the picture of last year. Everybody was across the street, and that's a big plus to me, not having them trailers. And now this an exception to the private property. If someone wants a trailer or anything on their property, there's their business, just on Main Street. Some be having tents cooking. I think that would matter. There shouldn't be no problem. But the only thing we ask that the tents are not put across the sidewalks because people will be walking or whatever. So behind the sidewalk, there shouldn't be no problem. And hope everybody enjoys Mardi Gras and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, moving on, building code report.
Well, I don't have much to say other than what I kind of said earlier. Once we get a recommendation from the council on this nuisance ordinance deal, where we're giving them a 10 days to start getting in compliance, then we're going to really start putting that hammer down. I was noticing the one that example we were kind of working on for Scott Police. They had theirs at only 5 days, so we're doubling what Scott ordinance had in theirs. You know, that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you, sir. All right, move on the legal, introduction of ordinance, use of the ordinance provision considered, add the 10 days compliance to the nuisance ordinance. Do I have a motion? We discussed this in the earlier session.
I do so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. That was a time issue.
Go ahead, Todd.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Any discussion? Comments? Questions? Any discussion, comments, or questions? No. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, under reports and requests. Letter A is request to the council by the mayor to present to the present to council the appraisal value of the Guerin building and 4+ acres of property as parcel 1, the parking lot containing 2.3 acres as parcel 2, the council for advertisement of sale to the general public. We are planning on selling the Guerin building, and we have divided it into 2 parcels. And in your paperwork, you will see there are pictures of it. It's broken into 2 parcels, or will be broken up, I'm sorry, upon your approval. And you know, the question arises, can a person buy both parcels? Yes. Or if you want to buy one of the parcels, you can do that also.
Can I get it for $1?
I want it. Praise God.
I'm just joking, bro, last time.
May I look at it, and I'm only looking at this from a building code's point of view, the way y'all maybe divided it up, is because when you have a building this size, I've been in this building, for it to be in code, what we call code compliance, you should have 60 feet all the way around that building. I'm not sure the way you divide it up, if that gives it 60 feet. And the reason why you have 60 feet is for fire access, fire trucks in case the building catches on fire. When you have a building this large, it requires to have 60 feet all the way around for access.
Mr. Cooney, I'm not arguing with you on that, but that building will never be in code.
Right, exactly. I agree with you to a certain extent.
Yeah, but if somebody brings it into code and there's a violation because of the property, they could never do it. You know how much it would cost to put that thing in code?
Mr. Dale, the building is sprinkled, so that really adds a big value to that building because it is sprinkled. But I just wanted to mention that too.
We got a few more in there.
Sir?
You did the inspection.
Yeah, I did an original.
You have 60 feet.
And they may have, that's why I said I never reviewed
Except where the parking lot is. Whoever buys the building wants the parking lot.
Well, they said they're dividing the parking lot separate from the other one, isn't that what you just said?
Which is okay to put it as that, but who would buy a building around parking and go on the road?
Especially a building that size.
Yeah.
Well, what's the reason for the division?
Well, because there's 2.82 acres, 2.2 and 0.4 acres that absolutely can be excluded from that sale. For sure. You need parking lot, 2.13, parcel 1, 4.2 acres. That gives you a building there. A lot of property around it.
You have plenty of frontage on Olivia Road.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's.
And that can only use the parking lot.
So this right here,
Yeah, use that for parking, yeah, I never thought about that. Use that parking space to Peter Holmes' house as parking also.
right, all this area right here.
That's a big area for parking.
But like that 60 feet is from here? We have that 60 feet to the right of the building?
No. No, that's not right here. No, no parking lots.
Is there any way you can get a leeway on one side of the building, being that there's no windows or nothing on that access? There's no access for the fire inspector? Would they give you any
If you
leeway?
don't have access to the side of a building that you don't have, just, right, it's supposed to be a fire-rated wall right there.
So it's concrete, solid, so it's concrete. So
it may be by just default, a fire-rated wall.
How much
It's
time,
precast concrete slab, so that's fire rated for sure.
How much time would we be looking at all of this happening?
Well, first you have to declare it not fit for a public purpose, if you're not using it for a public purpose.
And how much,
First thing you have to
how
do.
much time, just roughly?
You do right now. Then you have to advertise
And you have to get it appraised.
properly, you get it appraised, of course.
All this would be to get it appraised. The only thing I asked us tonight was to give us the merit and right to have it, the property appraised and to have it partitioned.
That's all we're doing tonight, right?
That'd be it.
Okay, and so then next month, we would take the next step in terms
Yeah.
of, so overall, we could be looking at least
3 to 4 months, maybe.
Yeah. To allow the town to get on the property.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
That's it, just allow them to get their value.
Raise it. You want to point the partition is just divide it up.
But have it made to where we said, have that, right.
But we are not voting on having it advertised.
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So
Absolutely not.
Thank
Good
you.
question,
Okay,
sir.
so technically-
Absolutely not.
So it's safe
There's
to.
no,
Can we
you
not?
cannot bid on it, there's
Absolutely.
nothing.
Thank you. So can we not
First,
even
don't
use?
nobody leave here and start taking phone calls.
Thank you.
Good question,
Thank
sir.
you.
The answer is no.
Can we not even use the word sale in reference to?
All this is to be as read.
Not at this time.
It says appraised value, appraised value.
Appraisal and the right to partition it.
Okay.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Letter B, under reports and requests. Request by Fire District 10, to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the town for the usage of the Guerin Building for the purpose of a temporary training facility until the date of sale of parcels 1 and 2.
Okay, look at the need. They happen to do it.
So if it meets your approval, could we get the chief
Yes.
to address, chief?
Or someone?
Chief, or what are your designated?
Plain and simple. All the wants for trade. That's it.
All right, I'm done with that. Do so move.
Second.
Can I ask Councilman if you would consider making a few amendments to your motion? If we can amend that motion and request that within the next 72 hours, the building is secured properly with locks, etc., because it currently is not secured. And once this is done, then we immediately allow for the Churchpoint Volunteer Fire Department to take control of the building for their training purposes.
Brad will take care of that in the.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to do the paperwork in the agreement that everything,
And how much
is
is
everything move on.
Okay, cool. I didn't know about
So
that.
will that be a cost to the town?
If I'm doing it, yeah. If their lawyers do it, that's up to them.
And Brad, what?
You got a motion, you got a motion, you shouldn't have a discussion.
Second, yeah. Did we get a second? You seconded, you got a second. Now it's over.
On the time frame, shouldn't take no time at all for you, right? I mean, to do the.
Okay, you don't have to do it, but the fire department has to sign off on it. They have to have a meeting, allowing him the right to sign on behalf of it, on behalf of the fire department, which he can do in no time at all. But then they have to give me the insurance policy that can make sure it covers the town and their people, which I know they have.
So roughly, what, a week, 2 weeks?
A week, 2 weeks.
Is that all right? Yeah.
Contingency not violating the laws.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next thing, special event liquor license request for Main Street Shell for Mardi Gras Sundays, February 11th, 2018. This is for Main Street Shell to sell liquor. That's a special event.
I do so.
Any discussion?
I abstain, because my cousin, so.
Discussion. What he's doing is he's building a wall around the door so he doesn't let people into his store. So he's building a wall where they're gonna come to the store to buy whatever they need, but they're not going in.
But they will be outside.
He's got portalettes on the outside, so he's just.
Yeah, they just want to.
All about nobody tearing up his
Yeah.
building.
Or, yeah, smart.
Are they, just curious, are they the only ones that does that during Mardi
He
Gras?
has a liquor license and a beer license and a cigarette license. He's already got it. So all he's doing is bringing it to the outside of the building.
Gotcha.
So he's not changing anything, but he does need an outside permit to do that.
And that's what I did.
Ron started from there on the parking lot from tearing up his store.
So where are we?
Going there, he'll pull a picture up.
Okay, we're ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next one is liquor license exemption for the annual Furor de Mardi Gras by the Saddle Tramp Riders Club for February the 9th for a receiving date. Okay, this is just for
It's just the
receiving date.
receiving date, it's not for the liquor license, we already approved that last month. This is just for the
Just a-
receiving date of the ninth.
Right, so receiving date, one day before to receive the,
We have to have the license in hand to receive alcohol.
okay, do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second. Yeah.
Any more discussion, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. All right, next item is a liquor license exemption for Church Point High School wrestling team for February the 24th at Church Point Park Pavilion. It's a fundraiser for their wrestling team. Do I have a motion?
I'm gonna make that motion to drop. I'm gonna make a motion that we grant them a year exemption for February the 24th. Fundraising.
Okay,
I'll second.
The fundraiser is the Washer Board Tournament. Okay. 24th of February.
okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Right?
Motion carries.
Wasn't there any one time that the school couldn't do the liquor, but that's why we're giving them that?
Okay, next item.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check on that. You give them a comment, because last time we had that problem. You're right.
that?
I was thinking about that. School deal, and that wrestling club is part of the school. They can't sell liquor, even with the exemption, I don't know. You have to check that with the school.
Brad?
Yes, sir.
Can you help us with that?
Yes, sir. What was the question?
The wrestling team is part of the school. As them being part of the school, they can't sell liquor even with the exemption. Ain't that correct? Ain't that the problem we had last time with the ladies club or something, or the?
Yeah, last year, someone, remember, Council?
That's a school board issue.
Right, that's what I was saying.
I'm not answering that question.
Yeah.
I don't know. As a superintendent, he makes $300,000 a year.
I don't know, last year the difference was there, we discussed it, and we said if we want to endorse. But
Oh,
I thought there was another group. I thought there was another group.
They'll probably run it under the,
That's what it is.
the Booster Club.
Maybe that's how it should have been presented.
Okay, well, maybe that's how we should have presented this.
Church Point High Booster Club.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to check that, because they're
Yeah,
going to
maybe
the
we
city,
should,
so.
Would you, I mean, that you want to change?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
It's that
I mean,
Sue who did that, and I'm second, it's not there.
yes. Can I have?
What is the,
I'll call you order. Sorry.
oh, they added that one? The Booster Club is different. School will need to approve it. Yeah, I know. Wait, hold on. You gave me the throat. I'm a goner. I'm a goner. Hey, I got a posse.
Okay, I do vote to, I would like to change the request. Booster Club. Church Point High School Booster Club.
That's okay, go ahead, somebody make a motion for that. I don't say on the vote, so you take a motion. The Booster Club, putting this on? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine with it, go ahead.
Decided Booster Club to wrestling team.
Booster Club instead of wrestling team is much different lives.
Booster Club.
For school benefits, a private organization, non-profit, go ahead, it's being hosted by the hosted, it's all.
All right. All right, next item, bill personnel, Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. See, there's a great interest in chickens this evening. Because, of course, of our career on Sunday, I want to invite everybody, one and all, to stop by the Butte Presbyterian as early as 10 a.m. on Sunday to see the museum decorated inside and out, and have a piece of king cake or a cup of coffee, and if it's a great place to view the parade if you don't like the crowds of Main Street later that afternoon. And second, I'm really excited about this through no doing of my own. It turns out that the Louisiana State Tourist Commission sent a film crew out to Acadia Parish last Tuesday, and they came by the Presbyterian to film for a commercial to be aired statewide, nationwide, yes. And even as they tell me, even in Europe, obviously, people, especially in France, will be interested in seeing old historic structures in Louisiana. So we're really excited about being featured in a statewide commercial. And finally, you remember that last December, the remains of Sergeant Kermit Lejeune came back to Church Point for a proper burial. We're very happy and grateful that the family of Sergeant Lejeune has agreed to display a set of his medals at the Presbyterian. So that'll be really worthwhile. So the point is, our little town is getting noticed, so please come see us.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Monday. Okay. Next thing is announcements. As far as announcements concerned, as most of you know, this weekend is Mardi Gras, and we expect a safe Mardi Gras. And make sure everyone, I know we will follow the rules and so forth, but we hope everyone follows the rules and regulations set forth by the town, and of course the Saddle Tramp and the police department as well. And we want to make it as safe as possible. The first thing is really safety. Okay, that's the first thing on the plate, is safety. Also, on Saturday, February the 11th, is the adult. On Saturday, February the 10th, is the children's Mardi Gras. And come out and support. They have roughly around 300, I believe, kids in charge. About 300 kids. So if you want to see some, all ages, doing the little chicken runs and stuff like that. And you know, I know people in here that have not been to the little kids chicken run. You say, well, they turn loose a chicken, and how does 4-year-olds gonna catch it? They make a ring. Parents will make a ring, and they drop it in this ring, and the little kids just run out, knocking each other all over the place. It's fun to see. And thank y'all for coming. Okay, Mr. Malbrough?
No comments other than thanking everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Enjoy?
Same here. Please spread those words of wisdom from the police department and the mayor. Safe, happy cultural event. Mardi Gras is that. We want to keep it like that. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Bill. Gary?
Thanks for coming. Mr. Coon.
Yes, sir.
You come from your previous life, you come from the contracting business?
Yes, sir. Approximately 30
You
years.
were highly complimented to me today.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to pass that on to you publicly.
Appreciate it.
You're doing a good job, and thank you. Thank you for your services. I know it's tough. Inspecting is tough, so, you know, I just wanted to hear that. Happy Mardi Gras, and more importantly, happy Valentine's Day. Thanks.
That's his old lady that told him to say that.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Have a safe and happy Mardi Gras.
Gentlemen, have a happy and safe Mardi Gras. I know that you have a few things for all the work that he's doing on this building. And please pray that everybody puts their guns away and all these shootings that been going on in the area. Not good, but let's pray for a little bit of peace.
Rain the whole country away.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming.
Police chief is not here?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay? Okay.
On Main Street, the property, one of the properties that we were addressing is being rebuilt.
The front of it. Yeah.
So what's happening?
Go down the whole front wall, and basically that's the temporary bracing right now.
So that he can do what?
Right now, that's just, we've got to stand still right now, that's just to keep the front, the roof and the walls from collapsing.
So he's not tearing it down?
No, that's not his intent right now, it's just he wants to, he has to come in to get a permit to, and put a plan before permit.
I will be visiting him tomorrow, his crew tomorrow.
Well, I was just shocked, because I told several people, he told us he was tearing it down for the lumber, so I've had several people ask.
But I will
You
address
can
that
see
tomorrow.
right straight through to the back wall, but
I don't know how he's gonna fix it. If he tries to fix it, first thing he needs to do is give us a set of plans and try to show us how he's gonna fix it.
When you go down the
It's
front
in very
wall,
bad condition.
the second floor was getting ready to cave in, and the roof was gonna cave in. See, he built that, and I was telling Mr. Coon to support the the wall from not falling and the roof from not falling. So that's what you're seeing right there.
So, but his intent is still not to,
He changed his intent. He said he wants to make it, and the words he spoke to me and the mayor today was that he wants to make a shop out of it.
Storage.
Basically coming from the back. Basically coming from the back of the property.
okay.
He said he was going to door from the front, but coming from the back of the property, I guess, to keep it
I was
as a shop,
just
like a shop.
curious, because I was being asked by several people at
Well, as bad as you may think it looks, it's 100 times better than it was.
Absolutely, well, you know, but like I said, that I was told that it was being torn down.
Well, that's what he told me now.
Right,
It
that's
was a
it.
tear down before morning.
But right, there's a lot of tongue group wood inside.
I didn't realize it was two buildings, I never walked inside.
Okay? Any comments from the public?
Since he mentioned Sergeant Kermit Lejeune, I'd like to express from the man from Hawaii, which does quite often the escort of the remains of those soldiers that come back. He does, that's what he does. And I'd like to express the fact, he said he was amazed at the response that a little town like Church Point could do. He's taken remains to very, very many towns. And he said he was amazed at the escort that brought it in and the response that the town had, and you should be commended. On another note, as Public Information Officer for the Fire Department, I want to thank you for considering us and letting us use that for training. We did every part of the training we can for space and every opportunity we can, no matter how short. And we'd ask that you help us to recruit. Some of us, like myself, are getting older, and we need young ones to come behind. So if somebody wants to do something for the town, community service, whatever, they can join the fire department. We'll be glad to train them. But thank you again, council, for helping us out.
Okay. Adjourn. Do I have a motion and a second to adjourn the
I
meeting?
move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Anybody wants to say your own name?
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.